CMV people who call child-free people lucky are wrong. It's not luck, it's a choice. I've seen so many people say to others who don't have kids that they are so lucky that they don't have kids and get so much free time to themselves, when in reality it's not luck. It's a choice. In fact, the decision to have kids is one of the most important choices because it determines the amount of time you have to yourself for the majority of your life. It's a massive financial and emotional responsibility that you willingly signed up for. People who had kids created the bad luck by having them. It wasn't like it was out of their control. They could have avoided having children, but they didn't. It's one's own choice to be willing to wake up every 10 minutes to a screaming child at night. I don't think people mean lucky in the way you're using it. When I tell my coworkers that I'm hanging out with friends and having pizza on the weekend and they say, "Ooh, lucky, I'd love some pizza," and they don't mean that I was somehow blessed with a statistically unlikely happening that I had no control over. What they're saying is that sounds great, or words to that effect. It's just a turn of phrase for conversation. Like usually when someone without kids is talking about a night out or going out or whatever. You're taking things way too literally. Also, most people I know with kids wouldn't trade it for anything. Even if in the moment some days you wish you didn't have the responsibility. Most parents don't feel unlucky, as previously mentioned. You're misinterpreting lucky here. To each their own. But those of us who made the choice to have children spent many years making the choice to not have children first. So what about people who live where there is no sex education allowed in public schools, no accessible family planning support, and where abortions are illegal? It's way more common than you think that some women are put in awful positions where they are essentially forced into motherhood whether they like it or not. I'll speak as one of those lucky people who don't have kids. It was a choice, a hard one to make, and it was based on individual circumstances. So in some ways, it wasn't a choice, just a response to circumstances. A response constrained by available options. There are downsides to not having children, particularly as a person gets older. No children means no grandchildren, and so possibly a lonely life with little connection to young people and their future. This is a dumb answer. But technically correct, best correct? Every contraceptive has a chance of failure. This actually includes the choice to abstain due to evil choices of others. While you can certainly stack the deck in your favor, you're still lucky to not have kids. Just like you're lucky to not be hit by a meteor. Honestly, I always felt like the people who say that are the ones who didn't really have a choice. E.g., people from heavily religious families or cultural ones that semi-require the birthing of children and the forbidden use of contraceptive. Sort of like a you're lucky you have the freedom to choose to have kids, unless a you're lucky you don't. That's my personal experience and understanding of people who used to say that to me before my first child was born. They mean fortunate, but lucky is a pretty close word. Who thinks it isn't a choice? People just are expressing slight desire for lost freedom when they say that. Luck isn't a real thing. So, if the choice between lucky or something else is presented, it's always the something else. Child-free people are lucky they don't desire having kids or give in to the curiosity. If I could go back, I don't think I would have kids. Many people use lucky when they mean fortunate, in the same way people say they're jealous when they mean envious. It's not always a choice. People need to watch what they say. Tell that to my wife, who's still struggling with the grief of multiple miscarriages and 5 years of failed IVF. It's not necessarily luck or a choice. Many people want to have kids but can't have them for various reasons. Whether it's because they can't find a partner or physically unable. Some of them are quite miserable about it. Just hearing someone called lucky for not having kids is strange. I always think it's the exact opposite. You are immensely lucky if you do have them. It's like the whole purpose of life from a genetic psychologic point of view. They are lucky to not be born raised dumb enough to have a kid they don't want. This seems like a rant complaint more than a CMV. I've literally never heard someone tell another person that they are lucky they don't have kids. Having children is one of the most fulfilling experiences one can have. By the way. Sure, I'm not sure what you're trying to argue. Yeah, it's obviously a choice. I mean, rape exists in places where abortion is illegal. When I travel and have to be near adults who were dumb enough to have children, like at the airport or maybe at a large event popular place, I make it a point to rub it in as much as possible. Damn sure glad I don't have to deal with that. Or if I'm with someone, I sure am glad we don't have any kids to ruin our trip. The evil stares and baffled expressions I see from those parents keep me going, man. Is this a joke? Everybody has different preferences and everyone has different circumstances. Some people always wanted to have kids but never could. Some didn't want kids but it just ended up happening. Some have kids and don't regret it. Others don't have kids and don't regret it. Are you seriously saying that when so many states have made abortion illegal already? CMV, nobody ever says childfree is lucky. They actually feel sorry for you but don't say it. There is virtually no purpose to life after 40 if you don't have any kids. Your life purpose would be nothing but survival and the pursuit of pleasure. There is no longer any progress. This is so sad. I've seen this attitude on Reddit quite often and have wondered if it's an American thing. I would be devastated if my parents were telling people how much they envied childless people. It's another way of saying I hate having you in my life. I have also heard of married people complaining about how terrible it is to be married, and telling single people to stay that way. If you're that unhappy, why not get divorced? Tell that to that 10-year-old Texan girl who's forced to carry her rapist's baby to term. It's no longer a choice in every situation. One could argue from a deterministic standpoint. A choice implicates that free will exists. Or maybe, the biological drive to procreate is a lot higher in some. Maybe even impossible to resist. I guess that could qualify as some sort of luck. Or maybe some can't see a reason for living without procreating. Then someone with the ability to find other reasons could be viewed as lucky. It's not a free choice either. There is also a great deal of pressure from society as a whole to procreate. Not being in the right social setting to be fully able to make the choice to be childfree isn't to be shamed. They know it's not luck either. None of them think it's luck. If you're not abstinent, not having kids is totally luck. A choice but also a class privilege. I have dodged quite a few bullets in my time. I'm full score lucky. I could have had some really bad co-parenting partners that I'm thrilled I don't ever have to talk to again. The point is, maybe you made responsible decisions to stay child-free. But lots of people simply roll the dice and get lucky. They mean they're lucky that they made that choice to not have children. Sometimes is not a choice. Can be infertile and adoption is not cheap or straightforward. A lot of thought and preparation goes into a choice. A lot of research and self-reflection. Choices are made when responsibility and determination are applied. For some it's not a choice.